Evening, I was sleeping and I had a dream of a cruise ship. So I found myself on a cruise ship. Pretty normal cruise ship. All the regular things that you're going to see and have. In this one, though, there were pools everywhere. Um, Not just a normal amount, a lot of them. One thing, I never got in any. Obviously, it's a dream, so it's going to be weird and out there. But the fact that I never got in any of the pools was pretty important. Now, the pools essentially centered on all of the communication, the chit chatting, the talking that everyone on the cruise was doing. So they were always talking about what was happening. In my dream, my wife at one point got bored of talking to me because I wasn't being very interesting. In real life, waking world, that that'll happen as well. I tend to be a little boring sometimes when I get in my own mind, but in the dream anyway. She lost interest and she wanted to go talk with other people that were there on the cruise and traveling on this cruise with me. Now, in the dream, I didn't really like that much. So I pouted, which is like, okay, maybe not the best play, but I did. And on this trip cruise, there was an old childhood friend who we'll call Brock, and he invited me to come sit at a table in the dining room and he offered me a beverage. I said, no thanks to the beverage, but I'll eat the food. Now, the seas, they were very unsettled at this time, as in dreams previously, very calm, but all of a sudden they're getting very unsettled, and the ship was rocking back and forth. And while we went into the dining room, we sat at our table, and there was a spattering of people all over. But even though there were these open seats in other tables throughout the dining room, this couple of two very loud, boisterous people came and sat right next to my table. And they were talking loud and they were laughing obnoxiously and they were just being rude and annoying. And so I couldn't stand their behavior. And so at one point, I got up, I pointed my finger at them and said, hey, you guys need to stop being obnoxious. It's not funny. We don't enjoy it. You're just being mean. And they just laughed all the more and they just thought it was hilarious. And so they obviously did not leave. But one of them reached over and poked my friend's food with their finger and just thought it was just such a riot. Well, I got all up in their grill and I was upset. Didn't touch him, but I just came up and I was just very insistent to a point where I think this is probably a little rude how aggressively I got up in their grill, but they just touched my friend's food. So like, you know, what's wrong with them? Not what's wrong with me, kind of idea. And so I was going through there, kind of getting up in their grill and aggressively telling them that they needed to like push off and get out of here. Eventually, they got up and slunked away. Slunked? Is that even a word? Slinked, slanked, slide, moved. They left. Anyway, as they were leaving, you know, I looked over and I noticed out of one of the windows in the dining hall on the ship, excuse me as I yawn, on the ship here, that there were outside of it, there was a mountain that was sitting on the back of the cruise ship, and it was steep and cone like, and it was dark on the mountain, and it was getting dark and overcast all over, and there was this road that wound up it all the way up to the top, kind of like you would decorate your Christmas tree with, like, I don't know, those little, what do you call them, gold bands or whatever? Decorative things, anyway. It just kind of wound up it like that. And there were lights from these cars on this hill that were shining out, and it felt very eerie, but it invited me to go check it out. Got up, left the dining hall, went out onto the boat with all the pools, the deck, the main deck of this cruise ship, and walked to the back. Because there was a mountain on the back of obviously very normal to have a mountain sitting on the back of the cruise ship in this dream. So there was this mountain and there were cars, and I walked past all of these pools and stuff to the back, because I wanted to get on the mountain and get in the car so that I could drive off the cruise ship, which was in the middle of the ocean. So it wasn't like I could just, drive off. But in the dream, it made sense. If I got on the car in the mountain thing, I could get off the boat and drive away onto normal, stable land that wasn't rocking back and forth so much. And so that's what I was doing. And when I got there, I got into a car, and and all of a sudden my wife and my kids were there. Which was like, oh, cool, nice, we're all here. And so I buckled myself in, and I buckled all my kids in, and I made sure that my wife was warm and safe, and tried to bring down the anticipation and the worry that might be going on because we're in a car on the boat in this mountain on the ocean rocking back and forth. And it just, the feeling was that, okay, here we go, this is going to be an unforgettable journey. It was exciting, it was worrisome, it was all those at the same thing. Now, dreams, I always like to take them, and if you don't relate them back to your life, then they're just whatever, whatever things. I find the more I try to apply dreams to my life to kind of help me understand things or change things about my behavior, the easier it is to remember them, and the more I have them. So, first thing I do when I wake up is I try to write my dreams down, and then I try to look at them and analyze them and see. Sometimes the meaning is very clear. It's an answer to a question I had in the previous day. It's this concern that I was having. It's an invitation to change something I'm doing, but it always has something of value. And so if you write it out, it's easier to find those things of value and kind of move to the next stage. So this one was obviously to me, I guess. We go through like the symbologies here or the symbolisms going on. Cruise ship, often it can mean, a journey, or in this case it was like life journey or this period of transition. And so in this dream, it was a structure that carried me over the waters, and the waters in the stream were really trying to communicate to me about important things like how to deal with emotion and how to handle processing emotions. We were on the ocean. It was very unstable. It was wild. There were a lot of pools, areas that were more controlled and clean and purified. They make sure that you're not swimming in a pool with a bunch of bacteria. They clean them. But the pools were also important. So all the water throughout the dream had a symbolism for me in my waking life. So as I went through, I wasn't interested in getting in the communal pools or these controlled areas where I could actually handle or deal with or talk through or process my emotions. And because I was refusing to do that, the ocean started to get more wild. They got worse as I wasn't participating in the normal, more controlled way. And then there was these social dynamics that showed up in this dream of, well, there was a social dynamic of my wife losing interest in me and going into talking to someone more interesting. You know, it's causing me to think like, okay, what can I do to be more interesting to the people around me? There was also this childhood friend that was inviting me out to do stuff, and I accepted some things that he offered me and not others. Didn't want to drink with him, wanted to eat with him. Was very picky and choosy. Um, it's kind of saying, hey, are you willing to join in this group for, for fundamental reasons or just for fun things? So, like, what was I using my friendship circle for? Was it that connection, the true substance, meaningful things? Or is it just frou frou, which is like, okay, was I just hanging out with people or spending time with these people just to feel good instead of actually get real connection? Was it a surface level connection or was it a meaningful one? And it caused me to look at those relationships in my waking life. You know, you had the rude people at dinner. It's just like, okay, what do you do when you have people pushing and disrespecting your boundaries? How do you handle those? How do I handle those? Was really my question. So those are important things. And then I had this mountain that I needed to get on and get in a car so that I could get off this tumultuous journey and get onto stable ground where I would continue to drive in the dream. That was clear to me. I was going to continue to drive. The journey would continue, but it would continue in a very different way. So those are just some things that like that just kind of well, like jumped out at me. The mountain typically symbolizes challenges, goals, stability, or an obstacle, right? That needs to be overcome. It was massive and it was in the way. It was all the same time it was grounding and it was a fixed object. So I needed to get there so that I could get off of, you know, the boat. So anyway, there's some things going on there that because I recorded it, I'm able to look at all the little itty bitty details. Things usually don't show up in dreams for no reason, I believe, at least. And so all the little details kind of allow me to analyze it and think into it. So that's that was the first dream I recorded in the year. So something that was meaningful to me. Cool. Right. Well, thanks. If you listen to this at all, thanks. You know, hope you got something out of it. Yeah, let me know what you think.